All right, I guess we'll get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bonita Oswald, and I am the communications coordinator for this project. And today, this is our January 9th Bull Run Filtration Project informational meeting for our neighbors. And go ahead, go to the next slide there, Aubrey. And today's agenda, we have a pipeline or a project overview from our Deputy Director, Michelle Cheek. And then we also have Adam from our construction team on the pipelines, who's going to give a pipeline construction update. And then Tom is here to talk about the facility construction. He's the construction manager from MWH, or the JV partners that are working on the facility. And then we'll wrap things up with some questions and comments. You can also ask questions or leave comments during the presentations, but if you have something question that's can wait, we can also wait. Go ahead and go to the next slide, and I will turn it over to Michelle to give that project overview.
Thank you, Bonita. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. For those interested in college football playoffs, it's almost halftime at the Orange Bowl, and the current score is Penn State 10, Notre Dame zip. So if you'd rather be watching football, there's your college football playoff update. But anyways, about the project, I think we have a few new attendees tonight, so I'll kick us off with my usual intro and overview of the project. Provide some haul route updates, and then I'll turn it over to Adam and Tom for more information on upcoming construction activities on pipelines and filtration. So this slide is an overview of the facility site looking southwest from the main entry off Carpenter Lane, and I'll do just a quick walkthrough of the site. So as you come into the site through what looks like a little roundabout there, the first thing you'll see as you come in to the right is our clear well structure buried under ground there off to the right. And then as you continue on the entrance road into the facility, on the right-hand side is our administration building. On the left-hand side is our maintenance building. And then back behind the administration building is our chemical storage building. And then across from that is our solids handling facility. And then to the right of the chemical storage building is kind of the heart of the treatment process, and that is our flocculation and sedimentation basin. So the raw water comes into the facility, and the particles that are in the water get settled out in those flocculation and sedimentation basins, and then that settled water goes on to our filters. And then the filtered water heads into that clear well, buried clear well that I mentioned at the beginning. So that's a quick overview of the site. Next slide. In addition to the facility itself, we will be constructing approximately 7 miles of new seismically resilient water pipelines to convey water to and from the facility and our existing pipelines in the area. To the east of the facility site, a new unfiltered water pipeline will convey water from our existing pipelines in Lusted Road to the southeast corner of the facility. And then to the north and west of the site, a new filtered water pipeline will convey filtered and treated water from the clear well to a new finished water inner tie on the south side of Lusted Road, and then from there to our existing pipelines into Portland. We'll also be constructing a local distribution main and control road to provide filtered water to some of our existing customers in the area. Access to the filtration facility site during construction and then ultimate operations will be east off of Cottrell Road onto Carpenter Lane, entering the site from the north. So that's the road we just walked through doing the site overview. And then there will also be an emergency access road to Bluff Road in Clackamas County to the south. Next slide. So this is a big project with a lot of trucks traveling to and from the facility site and the pipelines, the different pipelines locations. Trucks will be using different routes at different times throughout the project, depending on activities at the site, but must follow allowed haul routes and any haul route restrictions at all times. The haul routes have been signed in the field, and haul route maps have also been provided to our construction truck drivers as part of our project training. Most of our truck traffic at this time is related to off-haul of excavated material. Across both projects, we currently have an average of around 100 trucks per day, with about half going to the north and half going towards the south. We're in the process of transporting the contaminated media at the filtration facility site to one of the DEQ approved sites for disposal. And that contaminated media transport and disposal will be completed within the next couple of weeks. And after that, truck traffic is expected to go down for a bit. And most trucks will be heading north. Our contractors are also responsible for monitoring and maintaining the condition of roads in the Multnomah County project area. And the project area is shown by the orange box on the haul route map. And this was defined through the land use process. The facility contractor has a person working full-time to do spot checks on road conditions such as dirt and potholes, and also make sure our trucks are using the appropriate haul routes. Maintenance of roads outside the Multnomah County project area are the responsibility of the local jurisdiction. The Water Bureau is continuing to work closely with Multnomah and Clackamas County on road conditions and safety so that immediate actions can be taken when necessary, which is a good segue into the next slide. So Cottrell Road is one of our approved haul routes, but due to multiple pothole repairs that aren't holding up, haul traffic was recently stopped on Cottrell between Dodge Park Boulevard and Lusted Road. The project team is working on a solution to get this section of Cottrell Road resurfaced as soon as we can. We've also heard from Multnomah County that they are planning to fix potholes on Dodge Park Boulevard from Pleasant Home Road to Orient Road, and that work will be done starting the week of January 13th. And then Clackamas County was also out yesterday repairing potholes on Cottrell south of Carpenter Lane. So we are working to find a more permanent solution to the Cottrell Road road conditions. And with that, I will pass the mic to Adam Ward, who will share some updates on the pipelines project.
Thanks, Michelle. Good evening, everybody. So first slide here, I know Michelle went through a high-level overview of our pipeline project, but I'm just going to dive into a little bit more of a detail. If you start on the bottom right corner of the map you see there where it says lower lusted to pipeline shaft, that's what we call our raw water. So that's where we're tying into the existing system. And we will be tunneling from what we call the Bissell or lower lusted property into the southeast corner of the filtration facility. So the blue box you see there. From there, we'll connect into the facility, and then we'll come out the northwest side underneath Carpenter Lane, and then taking one what we call finish water pipeline down Dodge Park, and then across Dodge Park, what we call Farm Field Road, which is just a few blocks before Altman. And we take it through Farm Field up to Lusted Road. Where at Lusted Road and the end of Farm Field is where we'll have our finished water intertie building. So that one line will go into the finished water intertie, and out comes three. So then those lines will then make their way down Lusted and up Altman. And that is the pipeline project. The only part I've left out is you can see on Cottrell, there's a small distribution line that is also part of the project as well, but it's not one of the main lines that we're showcasing here. So next slide. So some of the current activities that we're having on lower Lusted, so this is the area near the Multnomah and Clackamas County line. If any of you have driven it there lately, you'll see that we're working on a road widening activity. This is going to allow us to effectively manage traffic as we tie into the existing system. So if you remember at the last slide on the bottom right-hand corner, that's the tie-in point for the new system to the existing system. So they're widening that so we can effectively do those tie-ins and then take it west towards the new facility. The traffic control for the temporary widening will always have a lane of traffic open. We'll have some signals that'll be set up there to help traffic effectively move through there. But that setup actually won't be there for very long. It's basically going to be there for the month of February, and then you won't see it again until October from when we actually do the tie-in later on in the year. And that's where it goes to the upcoming activity about the explorations that we're going to be doing. So right now we're looking for February, and that'll be single lane traffic, buses, emergency vehicles. Everybody will be able to still flow through that main point of the project. So next slide. Upper Lusted, which is up by the Lusted and Altman intersection. So the current activity that you'll see out there today is the installation of the new Pleasant Home Water District lines. So we had to install those because where the current lines are located, that is where our new finished water lines are going to be going in. So first we have to install the new Pleasant Home Water District lines. The traffic control that you'll see there, again, you'll always have at least single lane open. It'll be flagged. We will shut down the intersection at Altman and Lusted, but it'll be for a short time. And we will make sure buses and emergency vehicles can still get through there, and there'll be plenty of detour options until we turn up the road in towards Altman, where again we'll be down to a single lane of traffic. So expect that work to happen over the next 2 months. And then more long term is what the upcoming activities is speaking to, is when we do start the installation of that raw water line on Altman. Due to space constraints, we will be looking to close that road during the day and then opening it up to a one-way at nights and weekends. And that work is scheduled to start in April and be about 5 months long. So hopefully we can get out of there faster, but we feel this is the best way to reduce impact to the public by closing it down during the day and do the work safely. Next slide, please. This is just an overview of what's upcoming in the next few months. I've spoken about most of these already. So letter A is what's going out there right now with the Pleasant Home Water District on Lusted Road with a single lane of traffic. B is the closure at the intersection. Again, it'll be for a couple weeks just to get us around that corner where we'll have flaggers there. And the plan is to open that up at night and weekends on that closure of the intersection. I don't think I had mentioned that before. Letter C is when we take Pleasant Home Water District up Altman Road. It'll be down to single lane closure, but we will still keep the two-way traffic going because we've done that road widening already. And D and E are related to the conduit investigations that we need to do. E up by Oxbow, we will set up a temporary traffic light there for the roughly 2 weeks that we're going to be there doing that exploration. So we'll keep traffic flowing there. But on D, right at the end of Pipeline Road, or I'm sorry, E. I think E and D are flipped, so we'll get that corrected. But Pipeline Road is where we will have to shut it down for a week. The reason we have to shut it down is because to explore that pipe, it's right in the middle of the road, so there's no room for us to make a lane. But it's at the very end of Pipeline Road, close to Altman, so we don't expect to impact too many people there. And we're going to try to get out of there as quick as possible to reduce the impact to the public. And next slide. Okay, Dodge Park Boulevard. So we're talking a lot about Altman and Lusteds. The year 2025 is really important for this job for the work that needs to get completed on Dodge Park. This will go down to, again, single lane closure, two-way traffic, and it'll start in roughly February of this year. And what you see hashed out there is the entire Dodge Park from Altman to Cottrell. But our work zone will be a moving work zone of about 300 feet. So we'll only be taking portions of that road at a time, but while being able to keep traffic flowing through. The work will start in February with a goal of completing all the work on Dodge Park by the end of the year. So we're confident we'll be able to do that, and it'll be a big milestone for the project for us to get through Dodge Park. Next slide, Aubrey. Okay, pipeline shaft excavation. So there's been a lot of questions around the shaft that's being excavated in the southeast corner of the filtration site. So the picture on this slide kind of gives you an idea of the work package. So all the way to the right on that graph, you'll kind of see the line is the contour of the land there. So if you're looking to the left of the graph, that's where the portal is. So over on the what we call the lower Lusted Bissell property, that's where we'll start the tunneling. And you'll see that we'll be below that boring lava layer, which is the, what we essentially call the rock layer that we have to get through. So we'll be tunneling underneath that until we get to where that shaft is all the way on the right. So the shaft is about 235, 250 feet deep shaft that we have to go through. And when we get to about 200 feet, we have to do some controlled blasting through that boring lava layer. So how we do that is once we hit that layer, we'll go down and we'll make some cores or some drilling or coring, whatever you want to call it. And then we will put some explosives into those cores, cover it with a blasting mat, and then do the controlled blasting to break up the rock so we get through it. It's about 30 feet we have to get through. We're expected to do 6 to 7 what we'll call blasting events. And for how deep it is, we don't expect anybody to even hear it. But regardless, we've got on here that neighbors can sign up for pre-blast notices. So these are all controlled and planned, so we can send out notifications on when they are going to happen so that everybody knows. We'll be monitoring any noise or vibrations that may come of this, which we don't anticipate. As I said before, these are very planned events. We take safety very seriously when it comes to this. And it's scheduled to happen around March or April of this year. So to kind of demonstrate, and Aubrey, I think this is the right time to roll into it, but to demonstrate this, we do have a video of what we've done on a past project that's very similar to this. Now, this one is about 150 feet deep, so it's a bit shallower than this project. So the blasting will be a bit deeper. But Aubrey, if you want to cue the video, or if we're going to do it later.
No, I'll just shift slides. And so there's a short video that'll start, and there should be some sound associated with it too.
Okay. Yep, there it is.
Oops.
That's great. Thanks, Aubrey. That's
Yeah.
great. Thank you. Yeah, another thing I don't think I mentioned, the blasting mats, it obviously helps with debris from flying up to keep our workers safe as well. So it's not just the sound, it's, we don't want any rocks flying up the shaft at anybody either. So that kind of gives you a general idea of what the operations are going to look like for these controlled blasts. And I think that's all I got, Aubrey. And I'll hand it over to my counterpart, Tom, over at facilities.
Thanks, Adam. I know a few of you have recognized some of the names on there, so good to have you guys on tonight. My name's Tom Robertson. I'm the project director for the facilities, and I'm just going to give a quick update of the site, where we're at currently, where we started from. Um, in the next slide, I'll show you where we're at on that. But currently, we're doing some underground and encased concrete piping. We put the pipe in first, and then we put concrete around it to stabilize it, and then we'll build concrete buildings on top of it. And when those are finished, and some of them at the same time, we'll start pouring the concrete for the actual basins and structures that go on top of all the piping, and start bringing them up out of the ground. We should get a pretty good jump on that over the summer months, in the dry weather, and hopefully get out of the ground. Future phases coming up. Once that finishes, we'll start doing mechanical work inside the buildings, as well as electrical work. We have electrical duct banks to put in underground as well. Once all of that stuff is done and tidied up, then we'll start the commissioning of the new facilities late in 2027, and then start filtering some bull run water. And then there'll be some final landscaping and site restoration cleanup stuff that happens at the very end of that, hopefully wrapping up very early in 2028 and getting out of your guys' hair. Next slide. So a couple pictures here just for comparison. As some of you may know, we started out here on June the 3rd. This picture was taken just a little after that in July, on the left, and that shows the site when we started excavating out the main structure areas. When Michelle introduced the project, she said, the clear well is near the entrance. That's the big excavation you can see on the bottom right of both pictures. That's where the clear well will go and then get covered up. And then the excavation right behind it is for the filter galleries. And then the buildings are kind of off to the left where we have the parking and such. And the photo on the left. On the right is a more recent photo, where we've started putting in, you can see the trenches in there kind of, in the bottom right for the under drain piping, which goes in. And then also in there, we've got some concrete encased piping, and then we'll be able to start the actual structures and get them up out of the ground. And that's where we're at for today.
All right. Thanks, Tom. And thanks, Adam. We already have a question for you, Adam, back to the blasting. Tori's asking, how do you anticipate these episodes will affect people's wells in close proximity?
I don't anticipate them to affect the wells in close proximity. I mean, if you think about, where the blast is going to go, it's going to come up the shaft. It's going to go through those blast mats and up the shafts. So the control, it's going to stay inside our shaft. So, and the fact that we're going to be 200 feet into the ground, I don't know the exact location of the water levels, and I don't know if Dan or somebody on here can help me with that answer. But when we're down at the boring lava level or boring lava rock level, we don't anticipate any of that water to be down there.
And Adam, there's been some testing, some well tests that have been started with homes that are close to the facility.
There have.
And that's been more recent. We also had some well tests done in 2021. So we are monitoring that. Mike wants to know how those vibrations transfer radially outwards from the shaft.
How they transfer radially outwards. I I don't know how to answer that question. How those I can tell you we're monitoring the vibrations, and we don't anticipate anybody to feel the effect of any of those vibrations for how deep that we are. That's what I can tell you.
Dan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So for the vibrations, they do transfer out radially, out in all directions, but they dissipate pretty fast. But as Adam mentioned, they're putting vibrating monitors out there, and the closest structures to the blast were asking those residents if they would like to have vibration monitoring at their house as well. And I think one thing Adam didn't mention is the first blast they do is actually a test blast. So before they actually go through the whole process of doing the 6 or 7, they're going to do a test, and we're going to look at all the data to make sure everything is, the way we expected. And if it's not, we're going to stop and pull the pencils back out. Don't anticipate that happening, but um, as far as the well testing, we did too. We did flow tests and water quality tests, so we have a good baseline for all the wells in the immediate vicinity.
Thanks, Dan. And Dan, just so everybody knows, is part of the design team for the Portland Water Bureau that had come up with some of the designs for the pipeline project. Any other questions? Tori's asking, can you also tell us when the road repair will be completed on Cottrell Road? I think you talked about that a little bit, Michelle, just between Lusset and Dodge. I know there's more repair that's also south, but do you want to address that?
Yeah, good question. I honestly, I don't have an exact timeline yet on that, but we are working with folks within the Water Bureau to get design of those road repairs completed, so we can get that section of Cottrell resurfaced sooner rather than later. But as I mentioned, we have stopped haul traffic from using that section of Cottrell to keep from further degrading the road in the meantime. But unfortunately, winter is not a great time to pave, but we are trying to get out there and get that work done as soon as we can. And I know Bonita will be posting information and updates once we have that information.
Yeah. From what I understand, it won't be a quick process. There's still the design. We got to take samples of the roads, and we have to get that permitted. So there's still some work that will probably take several weeks to complete. But in the meantime, they have filled the hole with what we think is probably something more durable than what has been filled. The potholes have been filled with. So I think the combination with that and the trucks not using that road will help for a little while. Jennifer is asking, how do you know that there is no water in those lava tubes? Adam or Dan, or I'm going to take that question.
Yeah, I mean, it would be in the borings that were taken early on in the project is where that data comes from. That's how all these designs and plans are created. Is the first thing they'll go out, they'll do, and they'll take boring logs of all these areas, so we know exactly what's down there. But if something's not what we expected down there, we do what we do in any situations. We stop and we reassess, kind of like what Dan mentioned before about the blasting. Dan, if I say anything wrong, you jump in and correct me, okay?
You're doing great. I guess maybe the only other thing to add is we actually still have in those geotechnical borings some instruments in the ground that measure groundwater as well. So as the work's going on, the contractor knows where it's at. we're not down into the permanent aquifers, but where there is perched water zones.
All right, thanks, Dan and Adam. Anyone else have any questions or thoughts, comments? Jennifer says you have no idea where they are above or up above. That's a question. Or maybe that's a statement. Dan, do you have ideas where
If she's asking if we have no idea where it is up above, we do. We have the piezometers in the ground, so we know where the perch zones are. And the design of the shaft actually has considered that. And there's things that they're doing when they're building the shaft that they have to grout around and make sure that water doesn't flow into their shaft.
Yeah, absolutely. You can speak. You can come off mute if you like, Jennifer.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, my concern is you guys have no idea how far these lava tubes go. We have a little well driller, and we have drilled and gotten stuck. Okay, so they're all connected, and it is a little concerning. Where we are, once you get down in my field, and Bonita knows where it is, it's hard to drill water. However, up above about 40, 50 feet, there's water. So it's very concerning to me regarding wells and what you guys are doing.
Benita, I can speak to that. Jim
Sure,
Brunkhorst
Jim.
with
Thanks.
the tunnels and shafts. When the shaft is being advanced on the way down, every 2 to 4 feet when we're going down, that liner plate in the upper portion of the purple there in the upper formation, we grout the annulus of that to glue it to the formation so that we seal any connectivity of water from up above to down below it. That seals any of those if we would be in an aquifer or anything like that. That same process is followed through that boring lava formation. Looking at the cores from that lava formation, it's 100% recovery. There's no classic lava tubes or what they are. It's a massive lava formation. So we don't see any large communication or anything like that that would carry the water away.
Have you guys been discussing this with people with underground migration of water through basaltic structures?
I know Delve, the designer and the geotech on that, have been involved with this pretty intensely. And Dan, you've been working with them for how long? If that's come up specifically, but I'm sure it has, and they've addressed that. But that's why we grout sequentially as we go down with the excavation so that there's no option to communicate up and down with the water formation if there is any groundwater.
Okay, then why are the well drillers concerned about this?
I don't understand. I help me understand their concern.
They're concerned that if you guys fracture something, okay, with blasting and this and that, it could be larger. And I understand, what you're talking about with grouting. However, it's already happened over there once, over at the Walters with just drilling. And how big is this shaft going to be?
The shaft is about 34 to 35 feet in diameter.
Okay, well, I'm very wary of this. We those of us that have wells depend on them.
I fully understand that and appreciate your concern on that. With the blasting, just to speak to that a little bit more, how it's controlled versus all that energy from the blast that you heard, that's put in the ground to lift the formation within the shaft, not to do anything external. And that's why there's different timing with the charges. It's not just one large blast. It's timed events through there. There's a series of events, and the first one to go off is the one in the middle so that it creates a void for the rock formation to move upward so that that energy is not transmitted to the adjacent rock and that where the energy would go out radially.
Okay, well, also, the other thing I was told is you guys could collapse a well as well at the pump. Has that been discussed?
Dan, you want to speak to the wells?
Our design engineers considered the locations of the wells, and when they allowed blasting to be included in the project, they're rock engineers, they're soil engineers, they're geologists, they're hydrogeologists that all designed this. And they took that all into consideration and determined that the risk was extremely low. But but we are taking precautions. One, Jim addressed how the blasting will occur, but we're also, we got some baselines on all the wells surrounding this area, all the immediate wells, that is, anyway. And
Well,
that way, if
there's
something goes wrong, we will make things right. But it's an extremely low probability.
okay, and now I was also told too, static level is different than the flow testing. Because when your pump starts working, it's going to be different than your static level. How do I put this? It's because it draws, like, what I'm having someone come and check my wells because I'm not taking a chance. And they said, no, we're not doing a flow test because the flow is putting your pump, it's checking your pump. The static is where your water level is. So are you guys checking static as well as the flow?
Well, when they first go out there, they drop a piezometer in there. So they do measure the water level, and then they do a flow, and then they would run the flow for 4 hours to see if the flow changed, but they're measuring the water level the whole time as well.
Okay, at the end. Okay, I understand that. But then, like you said, we were just talking, for 4 hours, the static level drops, but it shouldn't drop that much.
And I haven't seen all the data yet, but what I've seen so far is pretty much, I think just about everybody's stayed the same. And it probably has more to do with the fact that, these are wells for people's homes. And so they're not, it's not a huge draw.
Okay.
And as I mentioned to you and others, Jennifer, before, if you have people that work on wells that have concerns, we're more than welcome to take some of that information that they have provided you, or they can talk to some of our folks directly and talk through any concerns that they might have, and see if there's any additional risks that we may not have thought of.
Well, technically, you guys should probably be talking to them because they know more about the wells in the area and the water tables and where the wells are. They're the ones that drill them around here.
Yeah, I think the person that they used to do the initial well tests aren't they local, Dan?
Yes. I'm blanking on his last name. His first
Anyway,
name's Steve.
Yeah, Steve's Pumps is who you guys were using.
Yeah.
Yes. But I've also been talking to other drillers and somebody with a degree in the underground, migration of water through basaltic structures. So, they were like, concerning to them. But like I said, I'm having mine tested because I count on my wells. And my property would be worth nothing without them.
Understood. Thanks for bringing that up, Jennifer. And like I said, if you want to send us some more information with any concerns, we're happy to take a look at that. I know there was a few more things. I see your comment, Colleen, about the dirt, but I want to, because we are already talking about the tunnel and the blasting, I want to just address some of those questions there. Mike had said that it's concerning to us as well, being just across the road from the blast. We totally understand that. We're trying to do all the precautions that we can. We definitely don't want anybody to be out of water or to have problems with their water. Pat is asking if, just wanted to make sure that what you had said, Jim, was that the diameter was going to be 35 feet for the pipeline shaft. Is that
Yep.
correct?
That's an inside diameter, and the concrete walls are about 3 feet thick at the top, and then it goes down to a steel liner below that.
And Mike is also asking, you will make things right with all of our wells if something does get wrong, or just those that you have tested. We do have a process through the city that you can submit a claim. We have a whole risk section. If you feel like there's anything that our project has done that has compromised your well, you can absolutely submit a claim with our city risk. Let's see. Okay, I think that was all of the blasting questions. I'm going to come back up to the top to Colleen's question. Where is the dirt going? I think the best person to answer that would be Tom.
Yeah. So the dirt is going to couple places. We're sending it mainly to Tappanee. 50% of it's going to Tappanee right now. 50% of it is going to Sester Farms, Dead Sester Farms. That is almost complete. By the end of next Friday, we will be down to half as many trucks as we're currently running. So we'll go forward, averaging roughly 80 trucks a day. That will go down to 40 starting a week from next Monday. And then we will only be hauling to Tappanee. There is a chance we could haul to another place. We're trying to get permitted, which I saw another question about timing. We look like we can be done by July, and the trucks will be very intermittent after that point. So hopefully I try to get two of those questions at once.
Benita, you're muted.
Thank you. I think after 5 years of doing this, I would know how to unmute myself. So thank you, Tom, for answering that. I think the next question is for you as well. And that comes from Christy, who's asking, will PWB do anything to monitor the massive traffic and speeding that's happening, especially on Carpenter Lane with constant dump trucks going to and from the site? So many are on their phones, eating while driving, not stopping at stop signs, not looking out for residents. We shouldn't have to deal with this. What are we doing about that, Tom?
So we do everything we can. We train them. We try to get them to go by our rules. We have no control of them once they leave the site. We get probably 20 or more complaints in a week, and we follow up on every single complaint that we get. And if we can track down trucks to the driver, to the company, we get rid of those folks that are doing things like that. We do not tolerate it. I definitely don't want you guys thinking we tolerate it. We just got rid of a guy today for an incident. It was his first one, but it was bad enough that we got rid of him. And so we do monitor the speeds. We have one guy that's all he does. He goes around on the map you see in front of you of our haul routes, and he posts himself up out of sight, and he monitors traffic stops, he monitors speed, and he makes sure that these guys are driving safely. But he basically gets paid to drive around all day and fill out reports of who's stopping, who's not stopping, and then we give those folks notifications. If they get 3 notifications of, say, rolling through a stop sign or, going over the double lines or anything like that, they're removed from the project. If they do something serious, like happened today, which involved a neighbor on Carpenter Lane, they get removed immediately. Don't care how many things they've done. So we're trying, and what we're really trying to do is get done. We're trying to finish and not have the issue for you guys. We know it's a huge inconvenience. And so we're doing absolutely everything we can think of to try to control it and get done and out of your way at the same time.
Can I speak about something today?
Sure.
Okay. I know you guys are trying to keep the roads clean because I've been complaining. I'm tired of my car being filthy. Epic failure today. Epic failure. You cannot have truck traffic while trying to clean the roads. I mean, I couldn't even believe it. Mud everywhere. My car. Bonita, did you get my pictures?
I did get your pictures, yes, and I forwarded those on to Tom and Adam to get this addressed.
I spent 2 hours trying to, and I won't even touch the car because there's so much crap on it and sand that it's going to scratch the hell out of it. I'm pissed. I can't even believe what you guys are trying to do. You cannot have 30 trucks while you're spraying the road. Maybe you guys need to go talk to the nurserymen to see how they do it, because some of them do a very good job. But you cannot, car traffic is different than truck traffic. And the truck traffic has been horrendous. Everybody in this community, and I go to breakfast at Pleasant Home, everybody has had it. We watch them roll that stop sign continually. I want to put a camera up there, actually. It's out of hand. The roads are damaged, and I cannot believe that Multnomah County and Clackamas County taxpayers are going to be on the hook for fixing all these other roads that are not around this site. And as a taxpayer, I am pissed off. Absolutely pissed off. And Clackamas County and Multnomah County, I will be going to their commissioning meetings to have conversations about this. Because I've had it. The conditions, it's wonderful you guys can self-monitor conditions. Everybody in that planning and that transportation at Multnomah County should be fired. This is ridiculous. This community is getting destroyed. I've been out here since 1991, and it looks like shit. And I'm done. I've had it.
Thanks, Jennifer, for sharing that. And I do want to turn back to the question from Christy, because she did correct me that you were wondering about what PWB was doing to help with the traffic situations. And so maybe Michelle, you want to take that question?
Yeah, sure, Bonita. So what the Water Bureau is doing is ensuring that our contractors are enforcing their policies that they have in place for truck drivers, including the 3-strike rule that they have in place, where drivers are removed from the job if they get 3 strikes. And Tom could talk in more specifics about that, but it's our job to make sure that the contractor is enforcing the policies they came up with around truck traffic and truck drivers. And if it comes to our attention that they're not doing that, then obviously we'll have to work with the contractor to and Tom and Adam and make sure that that gets corrected. But we take all complaints that we receive regarding safety and truck traffic seriously and share those with the contractor and, are making sure that they are enforcing the policies that they have in place.
And I'll just add, I know that we've been getting some emails too from the public and that have been sent to the county as well. And I'm on those emails, Tom's on those emails. But if you also can include the Bull Run Projects email, that would also be helpful in terms of getting things resolved more quickly. But that is a good way for us to keep holding the contractors accountable for keeping up with those things that we see are happening out there or hear about. I'm going to keep you on here, Michelle, because I saw another question about that. Or not about that, but let's see. Tori said, Luba has not even made their final decision, yet PWB is making very permanent moves here and changing our community beyond what we will be able to be returned back if Luba does not side with PWB. Did you have anything about that?
You're right that Luba has not issued their final decision yet, and we are hoping to get that on or before January 22nd. And, if Luba does ultimately deny our approval, then we'd have to stop work and then go through an appeals process with Luba. And the same is true if Luba upholds our decision or upholds the county's decision or any part of it. There's an appeals process in place following the Luba decision that the various parties can take on the project.
Right. And Pat is asking, how about a speed radar? Is that something that's been considered? I know there's some speed signs on Carpenter Lane in particular, but I don't know if the person that is monitoring for you, Tom, do they have a speed radar, or has anybody, maybe Michelle from our side, we've looked at that?
Our guy has a dash cam and he follows them for speed. He obviously doesn't follow every truck, but he does go out there and he's literally out there 10 hours a day following them. So we monitor what we can. And like you said, we have the signs on Carpenter Boulevard, which we try to make sure that even our delivery drivers know to stay under 15 on Carpenter Lane. So. Oh, I'm not sure, Pat. I don't know. I know what you're talking about. I don't know if that's an option, but it's not a bad idea. Like the camera one is what I'm assuming you're referring to. Not a bad idea.
Thanks, Tom. So Chrissy had another question in the chat. She's asking, when our neighbors were trying to protect trees during the right-of-way time period, PWB had a ranger out there policing us. Can't PWB have the ranger out to help the mess we've created? And I know that we do have security people that frequent the area, but we also have inspectors. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Michelle?
Sorry, I wasn't sure where you're going with the inspector comment, Benita, other than we do have inspectors working on both filtration and pipelines project that are regularly monitoring work that is occurring, and many of the same things that the contractors are monitoring, such as notifying us when there's dirt on roads or roads need to be cleaned or potholes that are being created. So we do have a lot of different folks that have eyes on some of the issues you've been seeing out there on the roads, and sharing that information so that we can get corrective actions in place as soon as possible.
Yeah, I was just thinking in the terms of things like that, where the, for instance, with the tarps on the trucks, I know our inspectors are out there making sure that trucks are leaving with tarps on trucks. They're also driving the roads, going back and forth to different sites and reporting things. Let's see, what do we have here? Pat had said let them lose their licenses. I'm guessing that's in reference to haul route truck drivers. I don't know, Tom, if you have that kind of pull to have people lose their license, but is that something you could address, or?
I do not have the pull to lose their licenses, but I can damn sure get rid of them.
Colleen is asking, did Sisters get any of the contaminated soil? And there is a site in Damascus that is getting the soil. Did you want to talk about that, Tom?
Yeah, that is the, excuse me, that's the soil I mentioned earlier that is going to Ted Sester. It was the top 18 inches of site that we took over to Ted. He's got the proper bud permits in place and everything, and so we were able to take it over to him. That's the one that will end next Friday.
Jennifer had also mentioned that someone is going to get killed. She is also suggesting that we have speed reduction due to all the trucks. And I know that is something that our contractors have requested in some locations, especially I think on Lested, and still waiting for a response from the county on that. Let's see here. Oh, and then Pat says, I'm referring to one from ODOT that generates tickets. Is that the speed radar gun that you're talking about, Pat? I think so. Okay. Colleen is asking, so Tom, I'm wanting to know if Sester's got contaminated soil. Are you asking if he's taking soil from our site, or if he had contaminated soil on his site already?
Yeah, did he get it or does he have it? We took the soil from here to Ted Sester's property, yes, if that's the question.
And again, you can come off mute. You don't have to type in the chat if you want to. That wasn't what you were asking.
I'm just trying to find out, they took contaminated soil from your area and have it in their property now. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And where is it? Just out in the open? So now we live across the street and we're breathing that dirt?
Ma'am, I apologize. I do not know what he's doing with it. He's got the permitting and he's being monitored by the county to be in compliance with his permits.
Shall I
So,
take it? Yep.
so I can't find out anything because I cannot find out anything from Ted Sester. He won't tell me anything.
And Benita, maybe I'll just add to that. So the Suster site in Damascus, where the contaminated soil is going to, it was one of the sites that was approved by DEQ for the soil to go to, and as part of the beneficial use determination. So that soil is being blended with existing soils on Suster's site in Damascus.
Okay. Well, we are on Lusted Road, and that's what I was concerned about, that he's putting it over there. So that's a little relief, I guess, that it's not going to be here. Thank you.
Sorry, I wasn't clear enough there for you, Colleen.
Yeah. Well, this whole thing is, we've lived here over 30 years now, and we're not even right on Carpenter Lane, but it's totally messed up the environment here and with the trucks, and we just don't know why it has to be, why you have to do it here. Why do you have to do this here? In the country, that's why we're in the country, to be away from that kind of stuff.
It's all about money. Project.
We're doing our best to get out of your hair as quickly and efficiently as possible. I know that much, and we are trying to do our best to keep things as safe as possible. And we really appreciate all of your feedback as we get along through this project, because that's what's going to help us to be more efficient, because we can't be everywhere, and we're trying to see as much as we can and take action on that. So hopefully we can keep it kind of low on the construction time, and then once the facility is in place, have less of an impact.
Well, hopefully I'll still be around when that happens. I'm in my 70s, and it's just not how I wanted to spend my elderly years in a construction zone. Anyway, that's my input.
Thanks for sharing, Colleen.
Nobody else.
Anybody else have any questions? There's a few more things in the chat here. He's in trouble. It's miserable living out here right now. Sorry, Colleen, they don't care. You don't have to put it here. We'll never be the same. Tori's asking, how many vehicles will be anticipated per day when construction is done? Do you know that, Michelle?
I knew you were going to ask me that, Bonita. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but we can get that to you. It will be far less. We have a specific number of employees that will be at the site on a daily basis, and in varying shifts. We'll have chemical deliveries as well, but the traffic will be significantly less than what it is during construction. But we can get you the anticipated vehicle trips during facility operation. In fact, we might have an FAQ on that already, but I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head.
And look it up real quick. During operations, Not finding it immediately, but we'll get that information. Maybe Aubrey, if you could take a look to see if you can find that. Well, speaks to the fact that if we'll never be the same, we live out here to get away from this. And that's definitely understood. We don't want to make this any harder than it has been. And we want to do what we can to make it easier. I know it feels like we don't care, but we wouldn't be doing any of the things that we have been to try to keep things, to try to get things better if we didn't care. And I know that is hard to believe with a project like this, but know that we do, or as a team, every day we're in our meetings, we're talking about what we can do to do better. And a lot of that's doing better for you all out there.
Agree,
Christine
Bonita.
said-
I agree with everything you're saying. I admit it's, I know it's not easy for the folks on this call that are living out there and living through this construction period. And I know it's going to be continue to be some hard days ahead for folks, but I echo what Benita is saying. We're doing everything we can to have, as little impact as we can on the neighbors in the area.
Christy says it will be way more cars than it should be when we live on a dead end road. That's why we chose to live here, find a different route. I think we're obligated to use Carpenter Lane for the project, or at least for the even the operations. We do have the emergency access coming from the south, but that's to be used as an emergency. Did you want to say something else about that, Michelle?
Just exactly what you're saying, that we're required to use Carpenter Lane to access the site both during construction and during ultimate operations. And that is due to some of the county code requirements around the roads.
Let's see, Mike says, Benita, when we met at the Grange so many years ago, you said you wouldn't want this in your backyard. And that is true. I don't think anybody wants it in their backyard. And I can empathize. I live in a place where they're putting in 263 homes. And, I recognize that there's a need for those homes to be there. And, change is not fun. I totally can feel you on that. I still wouldn't want to have the construction in my yard, but I do think when the filtration facility is built, it will be a lot better and easier. Christy says I would move, but no one would want to live here. We are trapped. Totally understand. It's a lot. Any other questions? I know we are 10 minutes over time. And if you have any questions or last thoughts, this is the time. All right. Well, was that the last slide, Aubrey? I think we had some more information. All right, so we do have our newsletters. We send out weekly newsletters. If you haven't signed up yet, I hope that you do, because that has a lot of information about what we're doing the next week and what's coming up in the future. Also on our website, you can check that out. A lot of that information on our bull run treatment projects website that have been in our newsletters. We also keep the newsletters on site in case you missed one. We also have text messaging that you can sign up for construction alerts. This is specific to things like lane closures, and we're limited on the amount of information we can put in into a text. And so there's not a lot of information in it, but it will let you know what's coming up for the next week. And then you can get to the website. There's a link to the website there. And then also we have the phone number. You can see there's 1-888-511-0568. That's just a text number that the messages get sent to. So if you try to respond to that, then we don't get that. But you can always contact us through the phone number, which is on here. That's 503-823-1505. Again, the Bull Run Project's email is the best email to contact us at. And there's the website for the construction updates. And up next, we have another coffee with the contractor, and that's in person in February. Then we have in March 13th, we're going to have a coffee of the contractor in the morning, and then an open house in the afternoon. A lot of the same information is going to be there. It's not, won't be any formal presentations. It's just to come and learn what's coming up next and talk with some of our contractors just to try to mix things up a little bit. And then we'll have another neighbor information session like this in April. And I think that's it. So I want to let you know that I appreciate you coming out. I know this is not easy. We want to have this opportunity to be able to talk to you, and I'm glad that you were able to be here and share your questions and comments. And this is all information that we take back to our teams, and hopefully things can get resolved, and we can both make it through, or we can all make it through this. And I don't even know what I'm trying to say at this point. I feel like just gonna, there's nothing that I can say that's gonna make this right. So I just hope that you all have a great evening, and we can see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.